Okay, guys, so let's talk about the negotiation that you did yesterday. First, let's talk a little bit about how the results turned out. So, from the director's point of view, they do have a fallback candidate who's likely to accept a salary of $107,000. You suspect that the person that you're negotiating with now has other offers. You're not sure if they want to come to your job. The average salary for the position is $129,000 and top of band is $135,000. You want the new hire to make a presentation for the company retreat in July. You can change the start date. You can increase vacation time up to 4 weeks. From the candidate's perspective, you have a $135,000 offer and stock options in hand from a startup. You also have another interview, but you won't get a decision there for 3 weeks. You really like this position, but you want to take a vacation in July, and you would prefer to start August 1st, which, knowing what we know from what the director wants, is not going to happen. So the initial job offer was $115,000, start date of June 18th, paid vacation of 2 weeks. You guys all seem to reach an agreement. 8 pairs agreed to 3 weeks of vacation. Nobody got to 4 weeks of vacation, which you could have. 2 agreed to 2 weeks of vacation, and the start dates and salaries varied. Here we can see how the salaries broke down. Most people negotiated $120,000. Remember, the average for the position is $129,000 and top of cap is $135,000. You're not going to get hired at the top of the cap. But a few people got to $125,000. One person got $117,000. So if salary was important to you, you really could have done better. As far as the start date, most people agreed to June 25th. But there were a few other options as well. Let's talk about how big the pie was. So where did we end up with points? Did we end up with a smallish pie, 1,200 or 1,400 points? Or did we end up with a big pie like 2,100 points? So let's see, how big was the pie? Note that if you had made this deal, both the candidate and the director would have gotten at least 1,000 points. Here, the candidate would have ended up with 1,400 points, the director with 700 points. Both of these are fairly large pies. But most of you made deals like this that ended up with like 500 points for the candidate, 900 points for the director, or vice versa. None of you got to joint points of 2,100 or above. 7 pairs had joint points of 1,500 or below, which is a small pie. 1 group was in the middle, and 2 couldn't be scored because you agreed on a date that wasn't an option, or you made an unacceptable deal, something that the background information told you the candidate would not accept is what you agreed on. So that is scored 0 for the candidate, at least. I guess I could have added up just what the director made on that deal. So I am going to argue that you guys did this too quickly. You did not take enough time with your negotiation, because you really could have had this come out as a win-win. And most of you felt like it was a win-win, but you're not thinking broadly enough. You could have come out with a lot better deal if you had taken a little more time with it. So one thing that I want to talk about a little bit, hopefully next class, is how did you guys start? Did you ask open-ended questions? Did you figure out what the relative priorities were, or did you just start throwing out figures? Did you really try to come to an integrative negotiation? Who made the first counter offer? Did you make multiple simultaneous offers of equal value, like the slide suggested you could? Did that work out? How did the candidate respond? directors? Did you use any power moves or rights-based moves to negotiate? What did you reference to convince them that you couldn't do some things, you could do others? Or was there just not a lot of back and forth at all? Did you just throw something out and somebody accepted it? I am going to caution you in letting negotiations end too early. You guys could have come up with better solutions than you did here. But most of you were happy with it. I'll be curious to hear whether you're still happy with it when you see what you could have gotten. This is just an example of how MSEOVs could have helped potentially. So here was the initial offer. Here was a potential counter offer. So you can see if you had made 2 offers at once, then the candidate can think about, what they want to do. Candidate makes 2 offers at once.